Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the webinar for the Draft Delivery Program and Operational Plan for 2020-21. My name is Jim Fraser. I work with the Council's corporate planning team, and I'll be the MC for the event this afternoon. It's great to see you give up your time to attend our event, so I'll just talk you a little bit through what to expect, and if you have any questions, don't forget you can use your question and answer button on the side. Today's webinar will take about 1 hour. We're hoping to finish up by 4 o'clock. So please take the time to listen to the presentations. If you have questions as we go throughout, we will endeavour to get to them at the end of the session. Today's webinar starts off with a message from our Mayor, followed by a message from our Chief Executive Officer. Then we'll step through an overview of the 2020-21 activities and major projects that we have in our Draft Delivery Program Operational Plan. We'll then throw to some questions from our participants. But just remember, if we don't get to answer all of your questions today, we will be uploading the responses to the questions on Council's Get Involved page. So the timeliness of this is that we do have our submissions open up until the 24th of June. So anyone who wants to check out the draft documents, you can download them from the Get Involved page, and we encourage you to put in the submissions. First up today, we're going to have a welcome message from our Mayor, Amanda Finley.
Welcome to this webinar for Shoalhaven City Council's Delivery Plan and Operational Plan, or the budget. I'll just call it the budget from now on. Can I acknowledge country too while I'm here, because we're all on Aboriginal land, and I want to pay my respects to the elders of the past, the present and those that are emerging, and to welcome any Aboriginal people who are participating in this process. And to all of you who are participating as well, and thank you for caring so much about your city that you are giving your time to look at the budget for the next 12 months. The budget papers are there to set out the pathway, and hopefully the pathway in the next 12 months is nowhere near as rocky as the last 6 have been, because I really want to acknowledge the really tough time that our city has been through in this last 6 months. Drought, fire, flood, and now COVID has really tested our resilience, and going forward we've got a lot to do.
So thank you to the Mayor for that welcome message. Now I'd like to invite
So this budget isn't a fan.
Now I'd like to invite our Chief Executive Officer, Stephen Dunshee, to say a few words about the Draft Delivery Program and Operational Plan and Budget. So I'll welcome Stephen on video for him to say a few words.
Thanks very much for that, Jim, and good afternoon, everyone that's joined us for this afternoon's webinar. I'm very pleased that you have done so. It's actually great pride that I have to present this afternoon this delivery program and operational plan, the draft delivery program and operational plan for 2021. And I say draft because that's what we're doing. We're launching it today for public exhibition officially, and seeking your feedback on what's contained within that plan. Next Thursday, it's actually 1 week away, will mark my my official 12 months as appointment as the new CEO of Shoalhaven City Council. And I have to say, certainly the Shoalhaven has faced many challenges over that 12-month period. From the devastating Currowan bushfire that quickly moved into the flood that we had, and now the current coronavirus pandemic. And I have to say the resilience of our community has been truly remarkable through what has been an extremely challenging 12-month period. But these adversities have created many challenges for the Council, of course, as an organisation, but I'm very pleased at how we've risen above, and particularly how I've witnessed our community growing even stronger in this recovery process. It's times like this that we all must come together, and whilst also meeting our commitment to strong financial management and cost-effective service delivery, Continuing to strive for greater efficiency in the way that the council as an organisation deliver the services to you, our valued Shoalhaven community. Financial year 2021 will see one of the largest financial support packages that council has ever offered to this community. And we're doing this in the unprecedented times and in response to the devastating economic impacts of the COVID crisis. Thankfully, the Shoalhaven has been spared, very much so, the health impacts of the crisis, but we're not spared by the economic impacts of it. And council has risen to that challenge very much so. In 2021, the council is committed to a relief package and recovery stimulus package that exceeds $22 million. And that comprises various support measures, such as reductions in fees and charges, financial subsidies for your rates, water and sewer charges, and a range of incentives to the development industry, particularly to kickstart the Shoalhaven economy through fast-track building activity. The council is very much committed to seeing economic stimulus through building activity, development activity that provides great opportunities for employment of our tradespeople to get buildings underway, construction underway, and keep our economy moving. In addition to the local emergency response and the bushfire recovery, council continues to work very hard through these times, delivering on a range of works, services and programs, and ensuring that Shoalhaven Council remains to be and continues to be a great place now and well into the future. The draft delivery program and operational plan for next year sets out a transparent scope of works for the Shoalhaven over the next 12 months. Council is very much committed to working towards these planned outcomes, with a number of temporary adaptations in place, of course, to ensure the safety of staff and our customers in line with federal and state government health advice. Whilst this does present some challenges to our workflows and our work practices, as much as possible, we have managed to continue with business very much as usual, although, as said, with some adaptations. So very much I'm looking forward to the completion of several significant activities throughout next financial year and progressing with the design and planning of many other projects. Social infrastructure continues to be a key focus, and now more than ever, it's essential that we provide the community with long-term ways to stay healthy, connected, and to foster the sense of community in our growing regional hubs. Scheduled works for next year include skate park improvements at Ulladulla and Sanctuary Point, croquet courts installation at Ulladulla, much awaited, the ongoing development of the fantastic new Boongaree District Park in Berry, and getting underway with certainly the detailed design and moving into construction of what will be a fabulous new library for the Bay and Basin District in Sanctuary Point. Looking longer towards the future, the Shoalhaven Community and Recreational Precinct at Boongaree is a long-term public works project aimed very much at meeting growing population needs, as well as bringing great benefits for health and wellness. Council will continue to take steps to realise this plan, ensuring that we are well placed to support a healthy and connected community into the future. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you for your message today. It's passed over to me just to talk a little bit about what actually are our plans. So those of you that have seen the documents, which we call the delivery program and operational plan and budget, would have seen that we've stepped it out in a different way this year. Ultimately, our plans are ways in which the council is delivering on the commitments for the community. These commitments are outlined in our community strategic plan. So you can see here that there's a number of different priority themes in our community strategic plan, and they include the things that you told us. Back in 2017, we undertook a process to develop the community strategic plan. And these are the types of themes of the city that you want to see. We heard from you. So the delivery program and operational plan steps out what council's role is with these plans. And if you review the documents, you'll see them stepped out in a way that makes it easier to understand what are the types of work that council will undertake. What's new this year? Well, we've tried to make it clearer in the plan to show you what council will be undertaking. And these are stepped out in a number of different actions. But what's new this year is that we've also included the ways in which we'll report against those actions. So you can see that each of the actions have a reporting measure and a target or time frame. So that's about how we are kept accountable for the things that we promise to do for you in the Shoalhaven community to keep making it a great place to live, work and play and stay. So you'll also find in the draft documents that include a listing of our capital works programs for the year. Now these are outlined in the following way based on planning areas, and you'll hear a little bit more today about some of the things that are happening in your neighbourhood and what we're doing about delivering for you, whether it be capital works projects like roads, footpaths, waterways, or even sport and rec facilities. So there's one way that you can have a look and see what's happening in your area based on where you live across the beautiful region here of the Shoalhaven. But as Stephen mentioned, we've had a big focus over the last 12 months around the various disasters that have affected the community, including the current COVID-19 response and pandemic. What we've done with our operational plan this year is we've tried to enhance some of the activities we're doing with the community in regards to becoming more resilient to recover from these disasters and to build community resilience into the future. So here's a couple of the actions that are included in the operational plan this year. They'll include responding to the recent bushfire in regards to building people back in the communities. We're also going to be undertaking some social mapping with communities to look at their needs with a focus on improving the resilience into the future. Our council's also tasked us with advocating for legislative change to try to make sure that we can assist in the protection of our Shoalhaven bushfire areas from future bushfire attack so that we can be more resilient as we build into the future. Not forgetting the community support. So we're also, as a council, will be focused on encouraging our community to understand the mental health issues as we recover and to encourage them to go and seek help. We also have a very strong economic recovery focus. So our economic development team will be focused on training activities and enhancing and recovering across our different labour force capabilities, and also the financial assistance package that Stephen mentioned earlier. We'll hear a little bit more about that later on this afternoon. So now I'd like to hand over to Elena Tubelinska. She's our Chief Financial Officer, and she'll be stepping you through some of the aspects to do with our budget.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everyone. Yeah, if you can change the slide, please. As per the Independent Pricing and Regulatory Tribunal New South Wales, next year our council can increase rates by up to 5%. This includes 2.6% rate pack plus 2.4% special rates variation. Considering unprecedented times of COVID-19 pandemic, our draft budget includes recommendation not to take up maximum increase of 5% and to increase rates by 3.4%. On average, 3.4% rate increase is equivalent to $11.25 increase in ordinary rates charged per quarter per household. And it will generate an additional $2.7 million of revenue for the council, which can be used to renew infrastructure assets. For example, this additional revenue could be used to renew 3 kilometers of council roads or to renew 10 amenity buildings. Next slide, please. The proposed next year budget. Sorry, Jim, could you change to the next slide, please? The proposed next year's budget is a balanced budget. This means that it conforms to the requirement for no cash deficit. Maintaining a healthy level of working capital was also taken into consideration in a 2021 budget. The operating results for 2021 financial year, excluding capital grants, is a deficit of $3 million for general fund, $371,000 for water fund, and a surplus of $7.4 million for sewer fund. Our consolidated net operating results before capital is $1.8 million surplus. To note that ongoing business disruptions might have significant financial consequences for our next year budget. We are assessing the situation, and any necessary adjustments will be considered through the quarterly budget review process. Next slide, please. As Stephen mentioned before, to assist the residents during difficult times of COVID-19 pandemic and to support recovery of the region, Council has endorsed a very extensive financial relief package that supports local businesses, residents, sporting and community groups. This relief package comprises of rate-pay financial relief, $300 per assessment, rental and fee waivers, 50% discount on development contributions, and additional community grants as listed. The estimated total value of the package is over $22.5 million. It's the biggest assistance offered by the councils in New South Wales. Next slide, please. Council utilizes a mix of internal and external reserves along with external borrowings to deliver its capital works program. In order to fund the delivery of our key strategic projects next year and to maintain a healthy level of working capital, the following new borrowings are proposed for the financial year. The proposed loan program is based on the principles of sound financial management that was endorsed by our council. We are borrowing only to fund activities core to council's agreed priorities, and we do not borrow to fund an operating deficit. We also ensured that our debt service cover ratio and debt service ratio remain within industry benchmarks. The next year loans include $4.9 million for renovation of entertainment center, $4 million for Boongaree Park, $15 million for waste processing facilities, $3.6 million for upgrade in tourist parks, and $2.4 million for business systems implementation in the council. It's important to note that next year budget also provides for additional $10 million loans provision. This provision will be taken up to fund infrastructure projects only if needed and if the situation changes. Also, this provision will support funding of the council contributions to the grant-funded projects. Taking up additional loans will result in increasing annual interest expenses from $750,000 to $1.4 million in financial year 21-22. Also, annual cash requirements to service loans will increase from current $4.4 million to $7.4 million in financial year 21-22. Next slide, please. An extensive $163 million capital works program has been allocated in the next year's draft budget. This includes an additional $41 million of strategic projects. They will support our economic recovery and recovery of our community. $163 million total capital works include $43 million allocated on water and sewer projects, $37 million on roads and transport, $22 million on waste capital projects, and $17.8 million on open space, sport and recreation projects. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks so much for that overview, Elena. So the next part of our presentation, we have Paul Keach, who is our Director of Assets and Works. Paul, are you there online?
Yep. G'day, Jim.
Hi, Paul. Welcome. So Paul Keach, everybody, to give an overview of some of the key capital works projects. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, so first one just to highlight was the Far North Collector Road. We've finally going to get some construction on the ground for this important link in our road network. We're looking at allocating just under $4 million next financial year. Tenders are being called now for the roundabout connection at Illyria Road and West Camberwell Road, and the rest of the works on the rest of the alignment will happen in March 2021. We're still anticipating we'll finish this in the middle of 2022. So that's quite an exciting project that's kicking off. The next slide, Jim, sort of shows the Moss Vale urban release areas that are one of the catalysts for this link, and that's where there's just over 3,000 new lots being created in that purple area there. We refer to the one on the right hand side as the North Moss Vale urban release North, and the other one to the left there as the South. And the south one will be connected in via Taylor's Lane, which is being discussed publicly at the moment. Next slide, please, Jim. The material, we've got the waste is quite an exciting area of operations this year. Two big initiatives in terms of recycling being pursued this year. The yellow lidded bin, we're looking at actually developing facilities where we can process the yellow lidded bin contents and recycle those. Where possible, sell the material or use the materials ourselves, and therefore value add to products that we would be buying otherwise. Glass is a good example of that, trying to turn glass into a sand replacement product. The other area is, of course, the Bioelectra tender. 12 months ago, we accepted a tender in principle and agreed to negotiate the detail of that tender in good faith. That negotiation, good faith tender arrangement has come to an end, and we're still comfortable that that there's potential there to occur. So within the next 90 days, we're hoping that if everybody meets their objectives and their promises that they've made so far, we'll be in a situation we'll be able to sign up to that contract. That will allow us to take our red lidded bin and divert 90% of the contents of that from the landfill to recycled markets. So that's quite an exciting project that will kick in next year. Next one, Jim, please. So I just took the opportunity to try and highlight some of the larger projects in the different planning areas. It's not necessarily saying that one planning area is getting more work than other, but I just wanted to point out some of the more noteworthy ones in the particular planning areas. On the slide here you can see Comerong Island Ferries up for replacement next year. That'll be a massive refurbishment of that facility. We'll keep the hull because it's in quite good condition, but we'll rebuild the rest of the ferry, and that's going to be an exciting project this year. There's some other roadworks listed there, more so to just sort of show how far and wide we do get around the region. If you go to the next page, please, Jim. There's either quite large projects, even down to some small ones where we're putting in some sacrificial seals on some unsealed roads. Watermolla Road was an example of that, $300,000 there to seal an unsealed section on that road. There's an interesting pedestrian crossing identified for O'Keefe Avenue, Nowra, sort of between the ex-servicemen's club and the Coles supermarket there, with a pedestrian crossing with lights to give the pedestrians and the traffic a bit of a managed crossing or a managed interaction at that location. The burnt out old sailing club down on the river will, there's a picture in the slide there. Work is currently underway on the decking and the hard infrastructure for that. The sails will come on top there. Quite an exciting new recreational area on the river for us next year. So some other ones there. Next one, I won't go through them all, Jim, but just the next one, please. Planning Area 2, Currarong Tourist Park, the Holiday Haven, an improvement in some of the facilities in the park to try and improve the usage of the park all year round. all year round, and some of the other road projects listed there. Next one, please, Jim. Planning Area 3, the Husky Vincentia, Wandandian area there. Getting back onto some termite damage rectification in the Bay and Basin Community Centre. Work was happening this year on that project, and some more money to get that up to speed, up to scratch again next year. Some amenities blocks and some skate park facilities there. And the Park Drive was one project that was reasonably well talked about at various other meetings. We've had public meetings. A fair bit of money being pumped into some rehabilitation on the Park Drive. The next area is Sussex Inlet, Cudmera. Couple of roadworks jobs there, and an important car park in the Sussex Inlet area. Some substantial money there. And then down in Planning Area 5, the bend along down to Durras type sort of area. There's quite a big works there, Frogs Hollow. The Lake Conjola Tourist Park, we're looking at a big recreation facility in there. Comprises of a bit of a pool, a water play area, jumping castles or jumping pillows, those sorts of things. Stage 1 this year, Stage 2 next year. Effectively borrowed funds with a payback in the increased revenue from the park facility. That's quite an exciting project that we're looking to put forward. The Milton Showground roads will get a bit of a tidy up, and there's other projects listed there. That's not an exhaustive list, but that's some of the highlights. So that's all I had, Jim. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you so much, Paul, for that overview. I'm sure there'll be some more questions as we come through. Next, we've got our Acting Director of Finance, Corporate and Community Services. So I'd like to welcome Jane Lewis to say a few words about some of the projects happening in her directorate. Jane? So do we have Jane online there? Yeah, great. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you, Jim. One of the major projects that we've got lined up for this year is progressing the Sanctuary Point District Library. At this point, we've had some preliminary concept designs, and we're now going to move this to a DA-ready application, completing all the investigations and our detailed design. So Council have committed funds to allow that to happen, and this will provide a district standard library for the Bay and Basin area in Sanctuary Point. It's proposed to be on the corner of Paradise Beach Road and Kerry Street, and will offer the community a really vibrant hub where they can access technology, information, along with books, a place for meeting, collaborating, connecting and studying. So it's going to provide a very valued service to the Bay and Basin area and build on the service that's currently being provided through the Sanctuary Point Library. We currently have a survey open, and information on this project can be found on Council's Get Involved page, so I encourage you to check that out and complete the online survey, which closes on the 26th of June. Moving further north in the Shoalhaven, we have the Boongaree Nature Play Park in Berry, and Council has partnered here with our stakeholders in Berry, and in particular the Rotary Club of Berry and state government, and we have $4 million of funding to deliver a significant part of this project. Stage 1 of this includes the youth zone and the nature playground, which will make a fantastic facility, and we have further funding of $1 million to allow other key aspects of the infrastructure to be delivered to support this, which includes car parking, drainage, footpaths, the skate park and a pump track. And the initial elements of this will be completed over the next 18 months. So that's a very exciting project that we're very keen to work and deliver. Next slide, please, Jim. We are continuing to invest in our sports ground upgrades, and Kalala Sports Ground will receive both irrigation and drainage, and Finkernavel Oval down in Sussex Inlet will also have irrigation systems installed. We will be testing a range of our sports field and undertaking our herbiciding, fertilise and top dressing programs according to the soil profiles. We are progressing the Ulladulla Skate Park concept plans, and they will be reported to Council a little later this year and go on public exhibition for the broader community to comment on those. We will be continuing to develop designs for the expansion of the Bay and Basin Leisure Centre to include a dedicated learn to swim pool and to enlarge the gym there, the very popular facility and a growing population there. The lift and change amenity will also open at the Ulladulla Leisure Centre in August. We're investing in the 2 croquet courts at Ulladulla Sports Park, and they will be completed by the end of the year. We are continuing with our ongoing floodlight upgrades, and Lyrebird Park and Frogs Hollow Sporting Complex will receive improvements with floodlighting. We're preparing a master plan for the Berry Showground in consultation with the Management Committee, and we are progressing to get a design ready for the croquet courts at Artie Smith Reserve in Boongaree as part of the Shoalhaven Community and Recreation Precinct. Next slide, please, Jim. We'll also be going to focus on our future planning, and that includes advocacy activities so that we can secure grant funding to deliver these projects into the future. So projects that we're currently focusing on are improvements to the Marriott Park, including the playground design finalisation. We have been working with the Touch with Olivia Foundation for this, so that we have an inclusive play space developed, along with new footpaths, park furniture, exercise equipment and landscaping, completing a very attractive park in the middle of Nowra. We're also working to create an open space with concept designs in the Mossvale Urban Release area in the north of the city. We're also working to design the amenities at the Francis Ryan Reserve, with funding this year to do the detailed design and investigation work and delivery in the year 21-22. We're also progressing the Ulladulla Skate Park, and we're working with the community in Conjola Park to develop a master plan for improvements in that township. Next slide, please, Jim. We're also making our customer experience a central focus over the next 12 months and beyond. And there are a number of new initiatives that we are introducing or have introduced and will continue. One of these is the web chat, which was an added service that we introduced during the COVID-19 situation to assist in connecting with our community. This has been a really well received service, and we currently have about 100 people a day using this web chat. So it's a chance for our staff to connect with customers. So this is something we will continue to do. And we also have hotlines for bushfire recovery and COVID-19 financial assistance program established, and we will be continuing that as an alternate way to connect with our customers. We are really proud to say that our new website will be launched in July 2020, and it will be a much improved way for our customers to connect with us, find information about the services that we provide. It's going to offer a much improved search capability and easier navigation, and make it much easier to find out about what's happening in your local area. It's been designed with accessibility to all, with vision and hearing impaired being catered for as part of the site. It is also going to be compatible with a number of platforms, whether you're on a desktop, a mobile. So you should be able to access information about council whilst on the go. We're also working towards having a dedicated customer service space and a contact centre. And we will be looking to connect better with our community. Another feature of this programme is also introducing our new online booking system for a range of council's public facilities, including our sports grounds, our community centres and public halls. And this will be coming online a little bit later in the year and making it much easier for customers to access, book and pay for our services. We're also working towards a single point of contact with our customers, so that those customers that connect with us directly, we're able to service and assist you far more effectively into the future and improve your experience with council. Next slide, please, Jim. In the tourism space, we are looking to build and continue actively working with our Aboriginal tourism partners and assist in business development programs, education opportunities, media familiarisation and opportunities where we can assist with developing business. We're also going to be looking at improving our tourism infrastructure, and we have received grant funding and $6.8 million is going to be invested over the next 12 months and beyond in a series of programs and activities, which include upgrades to Plantation Point, Palm Beach, the Basin Walking Track, the Buir Wetlands and Walking Tracks in Sanctuary Point, Hyams Beach, Murmarang Coastal Walk and the Ulladulla Headland Walking Trails. These are all significant tourism attractions to the Shoalhaven, and this investment will really take them to the next level. Back to you, Jim. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jane, for your presentation on what's happening in the area of community services. Now I'd like to welcome Robert Horner, the Acting Director of Shoalhaven Water, to speak to us about some of the projects happening in Shoalhaven Water in the coming year.
Thanks, Jim, and good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so a couple of the projects that we're either proceeding with now or proposing for next year. We're getting towards the end of our sewerage connections to all properties in the Woolamaya area, and we've also just completed connection of properties in St Andrews Way and Berries Bay. So that's been a significant project that's continuing into next financial year. We're also proposing to do a major upgrade of St Anne's pumping station. So that's a pumping station in St Anne Street. And we're also replacing an old rising main that's been giving us a few issues over the past couple of years. So that's a major project. As a result of not only the bushfires, but the floods, the drought and the coronavirus situation, we've undertaken some lessons learnt workshops, and we've identified a number of projects that'll improve our resilience over time and give us more resilience should we be impacted by further disasters. So there's a fairly significant program we've developed in relation to that. Paul mentioned the Mossvale Road urban release areas. There's some major projects that we need to complete in Shoalhaven Water to be able to provide water and sewerage services to that area. So there'll be significant money spent over the next few financial years. Thanks, Jim. Next slide. Also, we're looking at our energy management in relation to our water supply and sewerage infrastructure. A significant expense is required to keep these facilities running with electricity. A number of millions of dollars per year is expended on electricity. So we're getting very serious about our energy management. So we have a number of projects already on the books, ready to kick off next financial year. Just something that Shoalhaven Water is very proud of. We get audited every financial year for our compliance with best practice management, and we're also ranked against all other water utilities in the country. And that's part of our national performance reporting. And yeah, we can proudly say that we are ranking in the top 10% in most categories in our national performance reporting. As Alana pointed out before, we do have a significant capital works program, $43 million over the next financial year. That's what we're proposing. Yes, and significant capital works certainly over the next 4 years, the term of the DPOP. Thanks, Jim. Next slide. So I thought I'd just, people would be aware that your water bill is separate to your rates bill. So I just thought I'd go through the charges, proposed charges for the next financial year. So in the water fund, the residential availability charge is to raise by $1 proposed to raise by $1 per year from $82 to $83, and the usage charge is proposed to rise by 5 cents per kilolitre from $1.70 to $1.75. So that those rises are per the current DPOP. There aren't any proposed changes to that. Similarly with the sewer fund, no proposed changes from the current DPOP. The increase in the sewer availability charge is proposed to be $12 per year from next financial year, so from $864 to $876. So based on the average water usage in the Shoalhaven, which is around 146 kilolitres per year, your average water bill would rise by about $20 per year, or 1.7%. Thanks very much, Jim.
That's great. Thank you so much for your presentation, Rob. Now I'd like to invite Phil Costello to speak on the Planning and Environment and Development Services Group.
Thanks, Jim, and good afternoon, everyone. The Planning, Environment and Development Group, we work across basically 5 sections within Council. The first of those being our planning and development area. The principal focus for this particular section of Council during the year will be on our DA process. That's the core function of this area. It's certainly been identified by Council, the elected Council, as an area that will be the focus going ahead, and particularly in regards to the assistance they've granted through the COVID resolution of Council, and assistance to the development industry. As part of this, we'll be looking at the installation of some software, which is what we call the Tech 1 regulation module. This is much anticipated in Council because we know that it will offer and promises significant efficiency gains. Pardon me. It's going to offer significant efficiency gains and make the process a lot clearer for our customers. In that space too, we're also looking at the implementation of a DA review panel, which has recently commenced within Council. This particular panel will deal with larger employment generating development applications. It's a panel that's made up from representatives of each group within Council, with the idea that people will come together on a regular basis. In collaboration, they will look at each development application, and as a group, they will go back to applicants, identifying any of the issues and working through the actual application to hasten these particular developments to the approvals process. So that's a new initiative, Council. As I said, these people will be able to deal with all the issues associated with an application and form basically one point of contact for those dealing with councils for the applicants. We'll also be looking at, in conjunction with the state government, a new initiative from the state government is the Council Accelerated Assessment Program. So we have undertaken to be part of this program, and certainly the state government and the Department of Planning are looking to Shoalhaven to be a leader in regards to this accelerated assessment program. So we're looking forward to that. And part of that too will also be to introduce centralised DA lodgement by the New South Wales Planning Portal. Again, this will be aimed at the lodgement process of development applications, but it will certainly hasten that development, and we're looking for that to work in with Tech 1, and that will require some resourcing through Council. Another aspect within the group is our strategic planning area, which is basically our future planning, with regards to growth management and the policies that support growth management. A number of significant projects there to strengthen Shoalhaven's town centre, and the main one being the Shoalhaven Riverfront Precinct. So we're certainly looking throughout the year to get to advance that Riverfront Precinct program get some aspects of that shovel ready so that we can take those forward, throughout the next financial year. We'll also be putting forward the local strategic planning statement, which we hope to go on exhibition throughout July. That will be reported to council at the next council meeting, so that will be going out in July on public exhibition, hopefully. And that's a statement that looks at a 20-year planning horizon, for the Shoalhaven. We'll be focusing on advancing the new urban release areas, as Paul mentioned earlier. It's gratifying to see that we've already had one subdivision application in the Moss Vale Road South area that's been approved. We've got another application in the Wings there, which is a fairly significant application in the Moss Vale Road South area. And we're working with proponents in the Moss Vale Road North area to advance the work in that space. And of course, we've got the business as usual part with updates to the Shoalhaven LEP and various development plans and contributions plans. In our environmental space, I think it's fair to say that the major activity or the major focus will be on our coastal management program. Council has recently resolved to go forward with the coastal management program during this year for the open coast, for Jervis Bay and for Lake Conjola, which is a very large body of work in itself with those three significant coastlines and lake systems within the Shoalhaven. So they're very significant, and in conjunction with that, we will also be looking at the lower Shoalhaven and the St George's Basin Sussex Inlet areas to advance those as well. We'll be looking at some delivery of our natural area tourism grants, particularly in River Road at Shoalhaven Heads, and some of our strategic beach access points. We'll be continuing our work with flood studies and our floodplain risk management plans, which is an ongoing program within the Shoalhaven, and also in our environmental regulation and protection, particularly in regards to soil and water management. We've received some grant funding in the very recent time to allow us to focus on the regeneration and re-establishment of some of our bushfire affected catchments. So that will certainly be a major focus throughout this coming year, and our work still within our pollution detection and monitoring, our weed biosecurity and our natural area management. And our last area is in regards to ranger and compliance services and our certification services. Basically looking at meeting the community needs, responding to over 5,000 complaints from the community annually. That's a really significant number of interactions that we have with the community. So we'll be looking at keeping those actions in that space, timely and getting out into the community and reacting to those. Investigating non-approved development, which has been significant over the past year, and again they usually come through complaint from the general community. We'll be certainly focusing on additional beach patrols and on our dog off-leash areas, addressing illegal camping, promoting responsible pet ownership. We'll be running some programs throughout the year for the general community on that. And we'll continue to develop and implement strategies for our illegal dumping. And that wraps that up. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Phil, for your overview of what's happening in your space. It's great to see people online and attendees in the meeting this afternoon. And we do have a number of questions that have come in. So to finish off our session today, I'll be posing a few questions to our panel of presenters from the questions that have come through. And I just ask that our presenters unmute themselves when I ask them a question. I've got a question here for Paul in the first instance. We have a question asking, is the listing of capital projects for the next 4 years part of the DPOP package this year?
Yeah, Jim. My understanding is that we were going to put together the fine print on our 10-year plan in the end of September. We had a whole lot of issues this year, just in the preparation of the budget, and so the priority became to get the current year's budget out and get that considered. And what we would normally have done is done the other stuff at the same time, but I think there's just a little bit of a lag. That's my understanding where we're at.
That's great, Paul. So it looks like we'll work towards having a capital listing project in September. As you can imagine, there's issues with pulling a budget together in the current climate. So thank you for your answer on that, Paul. I have another question here for Jane in regards to the Sanctuary Point Library. Has the Sanctuary Point Library site been chosen, as this wasn't mentioned in the library survey? So Jane, would you be able to answer that question?
Yes, certainly, Jim. Yes, the site has been chosen. It's the corner of Paradise Beach Road and Kerry Street in Sanctuary Point. So that's the precinct where there are the shops as well. We have information about that on the Get Involved page on Council's website, and that provides that information. So I'd encourage anyone that wants to know more to sign up to the Get Involved page and receive regular updates on that project as it progresses.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jane, for that. The next few questions I'll ask to Stephen. We've got a couple of questions coming in about the COVID-19 assistance package. Will any council jobs be lost with the $300 COVID-19 financial assistance to ratepayers? Stephen.
Jim, the short answer to that question is no. And I'll comment on two aspects of that. The finance team, in putting together the financial package to support the $300 relief, will be making full provision for that $300 per property assessment in the accounts for council as at the 30th of June 2020. So it won't reach the accounts for 2021 and has no impact on the budget as presented in the draft delivery program for 2021. The second aspect I'll comment on in relation to that was through the whole COVID crisis, the council as the elected body made it very clear that the job retention was a primary focus for the council. And we put in response to that, we put in a range of redeployment strategies for staff, particularly casual staff, that where their substantive roles were no longer needed due to the closure of various facilities. We actually managed to redeploy many of those staff during that period. So very much the council has been committed to the retention of jobs, so there is no impact on jobs as a result of the $300 COVID package.
Great, thank you for that, Stephen. I've got another one here that's come in for you. Councillors in May 2020 have voted on a 0% increase in rates for 2021, but the budget overview states that there is an IPART rate increase. Can you please explain?
Certainly can, Jim. There was discussion, there was debate at the meeting in May in relation to what went on exhibition as part of this delivery program and operational plan and the budget. The budget as presented in draft form was based around the 3.4%, being, as Elena said earlier, the 2.6% IPART rate peg, plus 0.8% of what could have been a 2.4% special variation increase as well. The council did debate that. The report that went up had a range of options for the council to consider, but with a 3.4% as was drafted, or just a rate peg increase, or even a potentially a nil increase, or something in between from 3.4% or from 5% as the maximum possible to back to a zero increase. There was an alternate motion put forward that the budget be exhibited with a nil rate increase, but that motion was defeated and the budget was exhibited as is at 3.4%. As I mentioned earlier in my initial comments, the budget is, or the delivery program and budget is out on public exhibition. It's due to come back to council at an extraordinary meeting on the 30th of June. And it's at that point that the council will make a final decision in relation to the adoption of the delivery program and operational plan, including the budget and the rating structure that will accompany the budget.
Great, thank you for the clarification on that, Stephen. We've got another one that's come in. It's a little bit long, so I'll try to get this one read out to you. I'll pose it to you in the first place, Stephen. Previously, residents were able to access a Snap Send Solve app to report issues that need attention, like illegal dumping, potholes, etc. I believe this app is no longer used, which makes it hard for residents to report issues. Is there any funding allocated in the 2021 budget to reactivate this app? Do you know much about that one, Stephen?
I actually do know about that, Jim, so I'm happy to explain that. The Snap Send Solve app has been around for a number of years. It's not a new innovation. It's been out in the market as a free download from the App Store for a number of years. And council was a participant in that program. The model for Snap, Send and Solve throughout the course of last year changed in that it was a free service over that period. The change that occurred last year was that the council was advised that a pricing mechanism would be attached to that, and our assessment was that based on the volume that we received of inquiries or service requests through the Snap, Send and Solve, the cost benefit analysis didn't stack up. It was far too expensive to keep that service. What we did in response to that, however, was to develop the functionality, some of the functionality on the council's website. And the website you can access from mobile devices anywhere, anyhow. So our strong message was for efficiency for the council and continued ease of access through your mobile phone to notify council of issues and service requests is to work through on your mobile phone the council's website, and it's very clear on that website as to how you go through to lodge a service request as a free alternative to the council, and ultimately then to the Shoalhaven community as a free service in replacement of the Snap Send Solve app.
Thank you for that, Stephen. That's great. We'll include a link to that in the responses. So we're running out of time to answer all the questions today, but we will be posting up the answers to the questions that we didn't get to today up on the Get Involved page for all of those questions that we didn't get a chance to answer to you today. We will be posting that up along with the recording of this webinar if there's anyone interested in watching. So the next steps, deadline is for the feedback to be submitted by the 24th of June. It will be considered, so all of the submissions will be included in the documents going up to the council report.
I know, it's weird.
Jane's live, so what we will do is then have those council meeting streams live via council's website for those that are interested in listening in on council's deliberations on this. But I did want to say thank you so much for joining us today on behalf of the Shoalhaven City Council team. We do appreciate you putting time in to join us today on our webinar, and thanks very much.